What's up, Lumiose trainers? Lumiose Trainer Zach here. Welcome to the series where I review each Pokemon League arc in the anime. Each episode will be rated from 1 to 10, and the league's overall rating will be determined by the combined rating of each episode. In this video, I'll be reviewing... Oh shit, hold up. There's no more leagues. I've already done them all. I've got it. Okay, so since there are no more leagues to review, how about I review the Battle Frontier instead? Alright, so this is how it's gonna work. I'll be reviewing every episode Ash battles a Frontier Brain and then giving you the overall rating of that. So let's not waste any more time and get started. Episode 1. The Symbol Life. It's time for Ash's first Battle Frontier challenge, and it's against the factory head, Noland. The rule of this factory is that Ash chooses whichever Pokemon he faces. This should make things pretty easy, right? Except he decides to face Articuno. My god, are you pushing your luck here, fam. Luckily, the boy Charizard returned from the Charcific Valley to help out. Seeing Ash and Charizard reconnect was awesome, and this episode really shows how much stronger it's gotten since the Johto League. I mean, the boy is whipping out new moves and everything. Surprisingly, he actually held his own against Articuno for a bit. But this is a legendary after all, so it isn't a cakewalk for too long. Although Ash had a strong start, for most of the battle, Noland is actually one step ahead of Ash, and it did not help that Articuno knew how to use Water Pulse. Honestly, this match just felt like an uphill battle for Ash to climb, with him trying to find a way out of every situation he gets outsmarted in. One of my favorite moments is when it's revealed that Charizard learned Overheat, and it's saved for the last minute to help thaw the ice that was slowing Charizard down. That moment was epic, not gonna lie. Even though it missed, but we won't talk about that. And although this match was an uphill battle like I said, in the end, Charizard does manage to land its signature Seismic Toss. This win was so satisfying, cause not only does it feel well deserved, but it's also against a freaking legendary. Ash's first win against one in the series. It almost feels like this episode was made to redeem Charizard for its loss against Blaziken back in Johto. They even kinda do that similar thing where both Pokemon are knocked down and then they have to struggle to get back up, but this time Charizard takes the win. This was honestly his best battle in the entire anime. You go, Charizard. Oh yeah, and congrats to Ash on your first symbol as well. This episode's rating is a 10 out of 10. What a way to start off. Episode 2. Wheel of Frontier. Ash and the gang are now at the battle arena for the second Battle Frontier challenge against Greta. An interesting gimmick they have here is to spin a wheel, hence the episode title, to decide how many Pokemon they use, and Ash spins a 2-on-2. He leads with his Grovyle, whose awesome speedy movements are really gonna come in handy. Oh, it lost. Okay, but it's all good, cause Ash has a secret weapon up his sleeve, the return of his Snorlax. If you're a Snorlax fan like me, you're gonna love this episode, cause he really is the MVP here. Not only does he take out 2 of Greta's Pokemon on his own, even at a disadvantage, but this is also the infamous episode where he uses 6 moves in one battle. Now to be fair, this was back before the anime stuck with 4 moves like in the games, but hey, I ain't complaining cause it's awesome to see Snorlax wreck face. Honestly, he shouldn't have won considering he went up against 2 Battle Frontier level fighting types, but he still manages to hang in there. Rest definitely came in handy here. All in all, it was a good episode. Might not have been as epic as the first episode, but it's pretty hard to top a legendary battle, so that's understandable. My only real complaint is Team Rocket just kinda being exposed mid-battle only to be blasted off 5 seconds later. It kinda messed with the pacing just a bit, but what else is new with these guys? This episode's rating is a 7 out of 10. Episode 3. Tactics Theatrics. So it seems like the news of Ash's Battle Frontier conquest is spreading like crazy, cause now the dude's got a bunch of publicity and recognition. It's about time somebody noticed our boy's achievements. Psych, they only care about him cause he's facing Tucker, the real superstar. Now I don't know about you, but I really love the Battle Dome. This Frontier match just seemed way more grander thanks to the interview, the epic intros, and even the huge ass audience watching. It kinda feels like a league battle and even gives off similar vibes to the World Championship match of Lance vs Leon. God, I really hope they give Ash that same kind of intro when he competes at Worlds. But anyways, aesthetic and atmosphere aside, this was a really good battle. Tucker not only specializes in double battles, but he's also all about insane battle tactics. It really made things challenging for Ash, cause every time he tries anything, it was just countered by Tucker, who's prepared for almost everything. Ash tries to gain a speedy advantage with Swellow's quick attack? Too bad, cause Arcanine has extreme speed. Ash tries to use Corphish's advantage against Arcanine? Well, here comes Swampert with Protect. It was cool to see Ash actually think and come up with these good choices that should give him an advantage, but damn was Tucker giving him a hard time. And not only was Tucker overpowering Ash, but he's also doing so by giving the audience a good show. It's very much like a contest battle, which is something that May points out. It honestly seemed like Ash was gonna lose, but he finds a way to win by covering the battlefield in a thick coat of steam to mess with Tucker's insane tactics. Kinda reminds me of his battle with Gary in the Silver Conference. This was really cool, seeing Ash get the upper hand by outsmarting the strategy master basically. It was such a great win, and having the roar of the crowd cheer for Ash in the background just made it a lot more satisfying. This episode was really solid, and it's on par with a lot of Awesome League episodes. So its rating is a 9 out of 10. Episode 4, Queen of the Serpentine. This episode has Ash take on the Battle Pike's Frontier Brain, Lucy. Wait, that's not... Okay, yeah, this is the real Lucy. Get the fuck out of here, Team Rocket. Okay, now for the real Frontier match. So this episode was alright, I guess. It starts out with the whole Team Rocket crap, so it kinda takes up a bit of the episode. And then the Frontier battle with Lucy is pretty basic. Every other Frontier Brain up until this point has been able to stand out in their own way, but there wasn't really much to Lucy or even her battle style. Her thing is just that she uses a stronger Survivor than Jesse's. Oh yeah, and her crush on Brock, but more on that later. I will say though, it was pretty cool to see how Ash's Donphan takes the win by using Survivor's Flamethrower to power up Rollout. That was so damn cool. But after that, she sends out her Milotic while Ash uses Pikachu. This is literally the same final matchup when Ash went up against Juan in Hoenn, so this didn't feel all that special anymore, especially since the way Ash won against Juan's Milotic was way cooler. The way Ash wins here is by making Pikachu use Thunderbolt on itself, which apparently let it cut through Milotic's Twister or something like that. I don't know. I mean, Ash is known for his unpredictable battle style, but this was just a little too complicated and I still don't 100% understand how it works. And to top off such a mediocre episode, we've got Lucy's annoying ass sister who will just not shut the heck up. My god, who created this character? Honestly, what made the episode for me was the whole Brock and Lucy dynamic. The fact that our main man Brock finally found a woman that was interested in him felt so good. Too bad he had a bunch of cockblockers like Lucy's sister and... Max. This episode's rating is a 4 out of 10. Episode 5, Kaboom with a View. The 5th battle facility is at the Battle Palace against Spencer, and since this man is all about being one with nature, the battlefield is the entire jungle. This was cool because it adds a unique spin to the match. Watching this battle was a lot of fun because we got to see Ash and Spencer run around in the jungle with their Pokemon. It really makes the battle a lot more dynamic. Each matchup felt very different because they all took place in slightly different environments. Even the weather changes during the battle, which really turns the tide in some situations. Like when Venusaur uses the sun to decimate Heracross with the solar beam, or when the clouds cover up the sun to save Ash from another decimation. I really like that. This battle was all about adapting to the environment and nature, which is something you really don't have to worry about when you're in an indoor battlefield. So this was a nice twist. The MVP of the episode has to be Ash's Sceptile. It's his first real battle after evolving, and it kicks some serious ass. Its fast-paced matchup against Shiftry was a great way to start, and its finisher with Claydol was also a great way to close it out. And when it learned Solar Beam at the very end to take it out, my god was it cool. It was the perfect payback for what Spencer did to Ash's Heracross. And in the end, Ash walks away with his 5th Frontier symbol. This episode's rating is an 8 out of 10. Episode 6, Talking a Good Game. This is the episode where Ash takes on the Battle Tower, and what's interesting about this battle is that Ash actually befriends Annabelle before he even knew she was the Frontier Brain, or even knew she was a girl. Nice one. This makes the battle a lot more interesting because now he's facing a friend. It's a bit more personal. Now, although the battle doesn't begin till like halfway through the episode, it's actually not a bad thing. This is because the first half does a good job of setting up Annabelle as a friend and as a huge threat as well. She's revealed to have the ability to understand what Pokemon are feeling, which sounds very familiar, but I can't put my finger on why. Anyways, this is important because it allows Annabelle to command her Pokemon telepathically, which makes Ash's battle against her way more of a challenge. Ash was getting destroyed, plain and simple. We don't even get to enjoy the comeback of his Tauros because it gets wrecked pretty quickly. And even though Ash finally got rid of that darn Alakazam with Pikachu, she whips out her Metagross right after. Yeah, rip Pikachu. All in all, this was a good first attempt episode for Ash. He was kinda breezing through the battle frontier up until this point, so it was about time he lost one. And this episode did a good job of building up why the battle tower is so challenging. If it were up to me, I'd shorten Team Rocket's time a bit and maybe get a bit more of a longer battle, but I get that all that stuff before the battle was necessary to build up Annabelle. So this episode's rating is a 7 out of 10. Episode 7. Second time's the charm. This one is all about the rematch against Annabelle. Now, aside from getting the first half filled with ability shipping, we actually get to see Ash training for his rematch as well. I like the way it was handled, and it's very different from the typical Ash Ketchum training we've seen before. He didn't really focus on anything too intense or vigorous, but more on strengthening the relationship with his Pokemon to be as connected with them as Annabelle. And what do you know, it actually works, especially when it came down to Corphish versus Alakazam. He doesn't really reach Annabelle levels of connection with his Pokemon, but you can tell that at least this time around, he's way more in sync with them. And that's what really gives him the edge this time. And you gotta love the big brain play Ash makes by returning Corphish and immediately sending it out again just to remove his confusion. I always thought that was cool. Probably the weakest link for Ash was his Tauros, but even still, it was able to go toe-to-toe with Metagross, leading to a double knockout. If you can at least tie with the pseudo, then you're pretty good. And then that leaves us with the finale of Pikachu versus Espeon, which I'll admit wasn't as hype as the other matchups because of how little screen time Espeon got. But still, it was a pretty good speed battle. My favorite part would have to be when Pikachu makes the lights go out. This was a huge moment because it was able to throw off Annabelle for a bit. This is just what Ash needed to take the win. This was pretty good. I like how the training in the beginning of the episode really paid off and made the battle a lot better. Usually additions like these negatively affect an episode because they take up way too much time that could have been used for a battle, but for the purpose of this episode, it actually works. Nothing felt like a waste. Plus it just provided wholesome moments in general, so I'm cool with that. This episode's rating is an 8 out of 10. Episode 8. Battling the Enemy Within. It's time for Ash's final frontier battle at the Battle Pyramid. Oh, never mind. It's ruin time. So as a kid, I remember not liking this episode. But now as an adult, I still don't like this episode. So long story short, this was Pokélantis. No! These are the ruins that keep the spirit of the king of Pokélantis. He originally created this Pokeball to trap Ho-Oh, so Ash tries to release it to face it in a battle. This is my first problem with the episode. Ash is way too cocky and arrogant in this episode for no reason. Actually, that's a lie. He does have a reason. It's this guy, but I'll get to him soon. He's so sure that he can defeat Ho-Oh because he has 6 frontier symbols that he runs deeper into the ruins even though his friends and Brandon advise against it. Because of this, he ends up getting possessed by the king of Pokélantis who was inside of the Pokeball instead of Ho-Oh, for some reason. So the only way to save him is by having a battle. Yup, a frontier battle is wasted because they wanted to have Ash be possessed and shit. I get the whole point of the episode was to teach Ash a lesson, but did it have to waste his battle with Brandon? Cause at the end of the battle, Ash is all like, give me another chance, I want an official battle. And that makes sense. But Brandon is all like, no, I want to see some ruins. And then he leaves. What the fuck? Not only is this frustrating, but Brandon kinda comes off as a dick. Not just there, but like in all of his interactions with Ash. He's kinda mean by constantly calling him arrogant and a foolish kid. Alright, Iris' dad, calm down. Honestly, he's kinda the reason all of this happened, cause he provoked Ash by trying to put him down when they first met. We did get a cool moment at the end where we actually get to see Ho-Oh and it inspires Ash to do better, but it won't save this episode. If you wanna make Ash lose to Brandon, that's fine. I totally get it. He's supposed to be the strongest frontier brain and he even uses a Regirock, but having him lose as the king of Pokélantis was just dumb and unnecessary. His first loss against Brandon could have been a lot better and meaningful. This episode's rating is a 2 out of 10. Episode 9. Overjoyed. After 8 episodes, Ash and the gang return to the Battle Pyramid. But Brandon's not here, so instead of battling the final Frontier Brain, Ash is battling against this Nurse Joy. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Although it's kind of annoying that Ash isn't battling Brandon right away, the Nurse Joy stuff wasn't too bad. She's very different from your typical Joy because she's a huge battle and contest fan. I always thought it was cool that she recognized Ash from the Hoenn League and May from the Grand Festival. The anime needs more moments of recognition like this. Now, even though Ash is battling a Nurse Joy, she's actually no joke and beats Ash. This battle was supposed to show Ash that defeating Brandon won't be easy. If you're having trouble defeating a Nurse Joy, then how the hell are you supposed to beat the toughest Frontier Brain? Ash was trying to win with brute force, but now he's gotta think of a different way to win. And since Brandon tells him he's gonna use Registeel, he can actually plan ahead and get the win. He really seems prepared for this, and even calls Professor Oak to bring back an old friend. Ooh, I wonder who it is. You're hyping this up quite a bit, so it's gotta be someone good. Is it Charizard again? Maybe Heracross? Yeah! Seriously? I mean, he has the type advantage, but come on. Torkoal sucks. Alright, all joking aside, even though Torkoal does suck, this was probably his best battle ever, even though it lost. It performed a lot better than I thought it would though. Anyways, this loss is supposed to show Ash that even type advantage won't be enough to defeat Brandon. He's really got to be connected with his Pokemon if he truly wants to win. This loss was handled way better than the first, which I appreciate. I like that Brandon comes off as a mentor this time, you know, instead of a bitchy boomer like the last episode. Oh wait, he's leaving again? Fuck! This episode's rating is a 6 out of 10. Episode 10. Gathering the Gang of Four. We all know this episode, so I'm just gonna cut right to the chase. It's the return of Ash's Kanto starters, and now he's back to his original 4 Pokemon, if you're not counting Butterfree, or Pidgeot. This was not only to tickle our nostalgia bone, but it kinda makes sense in the context of the story. Brandon tells Ash that the connection between trainer and Pokemon is important, and what better Pokemon to be the most connected with than his original team. This was awesome. I loved seeing Ash reconnect with his Pokemon, and it's so cool to see them look back at the great moments they shared. This episode really shows that he has a special place in his heart for his first group of Pokemon. It's so heartwarming. Even when Team Rocket shows up, it isn't even that bad because it's all about Ash working together with his starters to save Pikachu. Brandon actually sees this and decides he wants their battle to be a 4-on-4 so he can see just what Ash can do with these guys. I really like that. Good thing he didn't use all the Regis though, cause my god, would that have been a massacre. Ash leads off with the boy Charizard, which you think would give him the upper hand, but he actually has quite a hard time against Dusclops. And just when things started going Ash's way, he got caught up in the moment and tried to finish it off with Charizard's signature Seismic Toss, when it doesn't affect Dusclops. Yeah, that definitely cost him. Now as a kid, I used to hate that Charizard lost here, but actually this is such a smart thing. Making Big Bad Charizard lose shows just how strong Brandon is, if it wasn't obvious already. Also, the fact that he lost first means that Ash can't rely on him to win like he usually does. He's gotta prove he can win without it, which makes the next episode all the more intense. Plus, Charizard already had its moment to shine when it beat Articuno. Now it's time for the others to shine. This episode was really good, but I do have one complaint though. Why was the animation so shit? This episode's rating is an 8 out of 10. The final episode. Pace, the final frontier. This is it. Ash's final chance to master the battle frontier, and without Charizard, it's gonna be a challenge. But somehow, he actually does it. Well, not somehow, cause he wins thanks to the strong bond he has with his Pokemon. Take Bulbasaur for example, who took out the Dusclops that took out Almighty Char. He definitely had some trouble, but Ash was able to get through to Bulbasaur while it was confused to give it that push it needed to take the win. I really love these moments, where Ash is counting on his Pokemon and giving them a speech on why he believes in them. And that's what this battle was all about basically. Ash believing in his oldest friends. I also love how Ash was taking advantage of his team's strengths to get an edge. For example, using Squirtle's Hydro Pump to dodge since Ash knows that Squirtle likes to spin around when it uses that move. Just little details like that show that Ash really knows these guys. Also, I don't know if this is supposed to be an intentional reference, but the double Solar Beam knockout by Bulbasaur and Solrock kinda reminds me of Bulbasaur vs Meganium in the Johto League. That was pretty epic. But nothing will be more epic than the finale of Pikachu vs Regice. This thing was tough, and the fact that it kept freezing everything and also resting made it way more difficult. It seemed like everything was gonna be over for Ash, but it's his trust in Pikachu that allowed him to keep breaking through the ice and eventually defeat Regice. This was awesome because Ash was not only able to defeat his second legendary, but became champion of the Battle Frontier. And since he's become champion, he's given the option to become a Frontier Brain himself. But of course, as we all know, Ash turns it down because he wants to keep traveling. Now this was obviously because Diamond and Pearl were coming and they needed Ash for Sinnoh, but honestly, I respect this. It's very in line with Ash's character to keep on exploring to meet new Pokemon and trainers. This is the exact same reason why he leaves Alola after all. So yeah, in the end, this episode was filled with non-stop amazing action, gave shine to the rest of Ash's Kanto starters, and gave a pretty satisfying ending to his Battle Frontier run. So this episode's rating is a 10 out of 10. The Battle Frontier's overall rating is a 7.2 out of 10. It was really good. Honestly, it deserves higher and would have actually been higher if it wasn't for the mediocre Lucy episode and that horrible first meeting with Brandon. So let's not talk about those and actually focus on the good. Probably the biggest thing this arc's got going for it is how much of a step up it was from the Hoenn League. Most of these Frontier Brains were really tough, and even had their own unique gimmicks and battle styles just like in the games. This really was one of the hardest challenges for Ash, and the fact that he was able to get through them all is actually really impressive. Especially since the Battle Frontier had Ash facing off against some legendaries and even had him beat 2 of them. Sure, that ain't no biggie nowadays, but back then, this was huge. Now aside from the Frontier Brains, what really made the Battle Frontier arc is the fact that Ash brought back his old Kanto and Johto Pokemon as well. He really showed off his skills by assembling the teams he believed gave him the best advantage depending on the Frontier Brain. My favorite team he used, and probably all of yours, let's be honest, was his final one, where he brought back his original team. It was a nice way for Ash to go back to the basics without completely butchering his character. The more you look at it, the more you'll notice that the Battle Frontier arc just felt like a celebration of everything Ash has done up until this point. Sure, it might have been hella fanservice-y, but it was done in a way that makes sense and also strengthens Ash's character. I mean, this arc was pretty much the catalyst for the more strategy-based version of Ash we get in Sinnoh. Honestly, I hope that future seasons of the anime take inspiration from this. And since Ash is currently aiming to take on the Pokemon World Championships, who knows? We might get something like this again. But until then, if you haven't already, I highly suggest rewatching the Battle Frontier arc. It's definitely worth revisiting this vital part of Ash's Pokemon Master journey. Thanks for watching everyone, and special thanks to those who support the channel on Patreon. Make sure to live your life to the fullest, and wash your damn hands please.